What is up, everybody? We're here for another episode with Jordan Crawford. He is active on LinkedIn. He runs an amazing company called Blueprint, and he's a data genius. He helps startups monitor jobs data, very unique, to understand their current pain points of what they're struggling with. And he helps them communicate those pain points to customers at scale. So then you can obviously sell services and offerings. So effectively, I could say a lead gen agency, but we've got a very unique twist to it so that you have a very sharp cut through from the rest of the noise. Jordan, how you going?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Awesome, man. Thank you for jumping on board.
Yeah.
It's very rare that people have better setups than me, but yours is dwarfing me right now. So that's you're crushing. Good on you. So for those listening to this show, I actually reached out to Jordan with a bunch of questions, and turns out this man knows way more about data scraping than a normal human should. So let's jump straight into it. Jordan, why do people pay you?
Oh, wow, what a great question. Usually they're making a mistake, and I'm able to get them value before they realize that mistake.
Fair enough.
Well, yeah, no, why do they pay me? It's a good question. I think that the problem that I see in the market a lot is that people have a conception of outbound of something that worked in 2011 and before. They're taking strategies from 2011. I grab the persona from Zoom Info, and I use outreach, and I send them a message about everything that I do. And then some percentage of people reply, and then those people that I sell to. This world it doesn't exist anymore. And the last vestiges of light that do exist from it, companies are like extracting. It's a zero sum game, basically. It's a prisoner's dilemma. And so I have a different approach, which is kind of the opposite, which is basically if your founder were to have unlimited time to write a single great email, what is that email that they would write? And then how do you scale that email? So as opposed to answering the first question, which is how do I send a message to all VPs of marketing? The better question is if the person that had the most context on your customers spent all day researching an account and researching problems that that account was struggling with, what would they say? How could they identify that the pain that that customer was in? And ideally, how could they deliver them value independent of buying your product or service? So how can you send an email where people get value in that email without making any commitment to you, which is kind of the bar now.
Okay, so it's very value front type emails versus the hey, let's buy my shit, right?
Yeah. This whole idea of here's everything about me just
Mm,
doesn't work anymore. No one
mm,
cares about you. And
mm,
the problem is that the databases that you pull from, the Apollos, the Zoom Infos, they don't
mm,
give you any context on what's going on at the company.
mm, mm,
And the
mm.
problem with most teams today is that people are given a set of accounts and then said, figure out what to say to these accounts. But the inverse is actually weirdly much better, which is at what my company did do. You can search 2 million job descriptions in 2 seconds and find all the companies that are investing money in Amazon ads, for example,
Sure,
and
yeah.
how they're thinking about Amazon ads. So
Mm.
are they doing programmatic bidding? If not, you now have some information to share about why that's a bad idea. I don't know anything about Amazon ads. That was a customer I was prospecting to
Mhm,
today.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
but that's like an example where instead of having a company and then figuring out what should I say to them, which you might not have anything to say to them. They might not even need your service. This takes the inverse approach, which are who are the companies in my market that are struggling with the problems that I solve? And if you know that, the message comes for free because you understand their problems and you can deliver a unique insight to them about how you solve their problems.
Very cool. All of that makes absolute sense to me, and that's something that I would do. But I feel like I would need someone dedicated. You did mention you can do this at scale, and I guess a large part of this conversation is trying to understand how you do these things at scale. So, how can I, right now, this day and age, with all the AI stuff, whatever's out there in the market, which we'll dive into, use this exact methodology you've given to get that insight across a large pool of job ads, right? How do I
Yeah.
actually aggregate that data?
Yeah, so let me tell you about a campaign that I ran recently. And so what I did is I took I took the G2 categories of companies that I knew I could sell to, because industry data is not enough. And so it's like, great, these are like B2B SaaS companies that sell into the folks that I have jobs data for. Then I programmatically had a 8-thread conversation with ChatGPT using Clay. And so I said, all right, well, here is an account. Here's the job. Here's the account description from Apollo. Tell me the job titles that they sell to, the top 3 job titles that. So I said, hey, ChatGPT, pretend you're a sales rep. Pretend you work at this company, like step 1. Step 2, if you work at this company, here's the company description. Give me the top 3 most likely titles that this company would sell into. So then what I did is I sent a message that says, like, do you sell into these titles? And then I said, great. Now I add ChatGPT. I said, pretend that you are one of these titles. What are the keywords you would write in your job description that would indicate you are trying to solve a problem that this company solves? And so I programmatically could say a message like, hey, Jordan, it seems like you sell to CTOs, CISOs, and security officers. And it seems like the problems that you solve are X. I have pulled all of the jobs that talk about these problems in the last 90 days from my database. Here is a Google spreadsheet I created for you. And I did it programmatically, and I actually didn't create the spreadsheet. I blocked it. I said, but if you request access to this sheet, if you request access to the sheet and give me your plan about how you're going to use this data, I will grant you access.
Interesting. So you sort of changed the power play right there. Okay, wow, cool.
Yeah, well, and I did that because the data is really useful, but I needed to stop someone from just moving on. I said, look, I'm going to give you something, but I need you to make a commitment to use this. And then my upsell to justify time, I said, and if this data isn't enough for you, if you spend 30 minutes on the phone with me, I will go pull leads for you. This is just company and jobs data, but I'll pull leads for you totally for free. But I will not share this with you unless you give me a plan for how you, can. It's free, but I just want a plan that you're going to use this. And that's the thing that I care about. It's not the money that I need. I need your commitment to like turn this into commercial value. So the sale flips on its head because I want you to close deals before you ever commit to me. That's the best case where you can say, well, look, we closed 3 deals with Jordan's data. It's already paid for a SaaS subscription. Let's buy it.
So it's almost like a trial, like a SaaS trial, except for a service-based business model.
Yeah, and what this looks like at scale is connecting my database up to, like, one of the things that we're playing around with is OpenAI's embeddings, which I mean, you're an AI guy, so you're schooling about this, but basically we dumped 40,000 of our job descriptions into this embeddings product, and we're able to ask a question like, tell me all of the HR jobs that are focused on implementing the most amount of new Workday modules.
That's super cool.
This is the job. This is the job. They're like, it says like implement these, or I did the same thing of like, give me talent leaders that have to scale their teams the most in the shortest period of time. And like in the job description, it says we will double our team in the next 6 months. Right? Perfect lead for
right, and you can even call that exact script out and say, hey, I saw you said this. Farah, that's actually really cool.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool. I'm gonna use that. That's actually really cool.
You should,
Awesome. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, sweet. Sorry, I'm not fanboying, but that's actually pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool. Okay. Sorry, I was interrupting you. So let's carry on. So let's say you do that, and I want to sort of roll that into a question that I had, which was if you could walk me through a scenario, right? You're someone who sort of gives playbooks and stuff quite actively. So let's just take a situation where we were to go ahead and reach out. So I'm a lead gen agency or I'm a fulfillment company helping out. I think you use staffers as an example in your recent videos, or recruitment firms, right? Recently, there's been a tectonic shift that's happened with tech. So can you walk me through a situation? Let's just say I'm trying to help out recruitment firms. That's my niche over there. How would I speak about the data and lead intent, right? How would I go ahead and pull leads? Where would I pull leads from? And what should I be looking for if I'm targeting recruitment companies today?
So I'm going to do the politician thing and answer the question that I wish I was asked.
Yeah.
Like, it
Okay.
was
Sure.
interesting.
Sure. Do that. Do that. Do that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let me tell you about healthcare. It's like, what?
Yeah.
So no. Then the reason I do this is that sellers forget a more important question, which is what has changed in my market and what has changed with my prospects. And so, the market has shifted dramatically here, and which is like amazing for some and terrible for others. And if you're prospecting into recruiting firms, great time. You'll get amazing response rates because all of their customers have fired them because they've all laid off, right? So it's like if I'm selling into these organizations, I can say, "Hi, I'm Jordan, gobbledygook. Do you want to buy my shit?" They're going to be like, "I do, Jordan, because I have a hair on fire problem. All of my customers that have been with me forever, they're not hiring anymore." So the quality of my message can go down. If I'm a lead gen agency, for example, I can basically bring a bad message as a lead gen agency to recruiting companies right now, and you will get some replies because people are like, I've never had to do outbound before. Now we need to do outbound. So sellers don't think, especially if you're in an SDR position, which is just the worst position, because you have a gun to your head and it's like, sell now. And I don't care, provide the worst customer experience, lie about our product. I will fire you if you don't do things that are not necessarily aligned for like long-term. But if I think as a founder, I have the luxury of time to be like, well, what should I do? Who should I go after? What's changed in the market? And a perfect example of this is I ran a campaign. I work for a company that does AI staffing. Basically, it's like I shouldn't use this analogy, but it's like Hinge for recruiting. So you can say like, this is a good candidate, bad candidate, and uses AI to like find better candidates. Well, I said, so we tried these campaigns that were working really well 6 months ago, and now everyone's budget's dried up. So we changed the value prop a little bit. I kind of invented something their product didn't do. And I said, I think your problem is now not can you find people? It's that you have a flood of 300 people that applied to your jobs. And you're like, I don't know. How do I sort through this? I'm not going to have 300 interviews. So my problem 6 months ago was like, I had 6 people that would apply for a job. They weren't great. I wanted more, but now I have way too much. And so we changed the subject line, too many open job titles. And that subject line, the previous subject line was getting somewhere between a 30 and 50% open rate. We got a 90% open rate on that subject line. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Yeah. Thanks to Smartly. So great open rates. And it's like, but our value prop didn't match that. Like we didn't nail the rest of the message as well. But that insight was like, I heard from candidates that's like, this is the 8th interview I've been on. Companies keep dumping me because they don't know how to sort people out because they haven't had that problem before.
Sure. Okay.
So if you think about what has changed in the market, what is new with my buyers, what do they want, you can then start to say, great, this is the value of doing outbound at scale, is that you're like, this is not hitting. So
okay.
It's like, I need to like adjust, and I may need to like, do a 90-degree pivot because something fundamentally has changed the market. So think about markets, not attention. Most reps think about attention. Attention is not the problem. It's actually, did I hit the hammer on the head with the problem that you're struggling with?
Can you help me understand the difference between, since we're going into copy infrastructure and psychology over here, what is the difference between attention? I would assume that attention would mean you're trying to grab their attention using market fundamentals or shifts in the market. So if you don't mind explaining what that difference is over here.
Yeah. So the difference is it's between attention and insight. And what a lot of sellers do is they will try crazy things for attention only to ask for more attention. So it's not like I want your attention and then I have some gold to provide you, right? And so like I started my email like Christmas in March, it must be true, right? Like the only reason I would write something like that is like it's like it represents my character. It's like different. Like you don't see that in a headline. And then it's like, I have some value for you. Here's the value. Now, what a lot of sellers will do is they will say, hey, here's like, I wrote your name on my refrigerator. Look at all this work I did. I wrote your name. And that's an attention hack.
Yeah.
Please never integrate that in your product, but that's an attention hack that is like, it makes you look silly. No
Yeah.
professional seller would do that.
Yeah.
But it's not like I wrote your name on my board and then here is the recipe because you're looking for a recipe for how to cook chicken. Here's like the perfect chicken recipe. Like the next thing is like, here's me out jogging. I'm holding my board with your name. Like, it's like, it just is more attention. And it's all with the promise that don't worry, when we get on a call, I will have great things to say. And that's like, no, I don't want to talk to you because you have come to my front door with a bad message. And if this is the way that we are going to start our relationship, it's only going to get worse from here. And so it's this weird problem where it's like sellers are like, shoot, I need to drive leads, which means I need to do some automation. But if I do some automation, the quality has to go down by definition. And then you're like, okay, well, the gap between what you can do for a prospect and what you can automate is wide. And that's the gap that a system needs to close, really.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, cool. That's actually very, very insightful. And that sort of gives me a nice leeway running into the next piece. I want to speak to you about trying to understand areas of your segmentations. A lot of people struggle with two main areas, right? One is targeting your leads, and the other one is messaging, right? That's pretty much 90% of cold email. The technical part comes in later with the deliverability and all that kind of jazz. So can you walk me through some copywriting structures? I'm not asking for templates. I know, cross sign, I get that. I'm just asking for some structures that you think absolutely bomb these days. That means they're not working anymore. We're talking 2010, get rid of it, don't try that. And some copy structures or call to actions that you see working really well. For example, the example that you gave where you're starting conversations simply by sharing observations to a Google Sheet, right? So if you don't mind sort of taking a moment to think through that and let me know what doesn't work and what does work these days, that'll be really helpful.
Yeah. Well, let me dissect pieces of the email because I want to talk about each piece differently because you can improve incrementally different pieces of the email to get a reply, right? Like you can think about this like that game that you would play where you take the hammer and you try to get the water thing at the carnival high enough. Well, there's like a reply line. So you have to if you think about an email, the better you do at each piece, the more likely you are to come over that reply line. So let's talk about the subject line. The way that I talk about a subject line is that you need to bait and not switch. So if you say something like my subject line is like, do you sell to CTOs? And so it's like, oh, well, yeah, I do. And so you're open. But if I said your daughter's in the hospital from not getting all these great leads, right? Like that's like a bait and switch, right? You're going to be like, I need to go murder this man because like, I was like, he said my daughter's in the hospital. Like I got to go. Right. So that's like an example of a, and you don't want to, and quick question isn't a bait. It's like the worst subject line ever written now, but like that's some things that would have worked, right? But the idea behind quick question is not bad, which is like some people write the whole damn, hi, my name is Jordan, this is everything. It's like, no. It's like, so your subject line, 2 to 5 words. It should do is I have, there is something here that you might want to see, but I can't really tell you anything more about it, right? So as long as you do that, that's it. You also should think about the preview. I don't know if does Smartly do this? Does it show you the mobile preview?
Yeah, we do.
Should.
We do.
Okay, great. So like that's something that's really, really helpful to know what are people going to see in that mobile preview. If you want like good examples of this, subscribe to Pete's Coffee's newsletter. Like they're amazing at this. They'll like have return lines in the preview. So it stops you when you scroll on your phone. It's excellent. So you need to think about that preview text next. And then what you're really doing is you do not want to launch into a tirade about who you are.
Yes.
No one cares about you. And ideally the kind of components here that, and like let's actually, I'm going to move down to the bottom of the email.
Sure.
I'm going to move down to the call to action. You're not asking for time. You're never asking for time. Your only goal with a cold email is, did I get this right? it's just a variation of, did I get this right? Did I do my targeting right?
Mm.
Is like anything right about this, right? Like that's all you care about. You don't care about a meeting. A meeting is the natural next step if you got it right. So all you want to know is like, I think your hair's on fire. Did I get it right? And if I did, they're going to reply. And if I didn't, they'll ignore it. But these double-barreled questions, did I get this right? Here's my meeting link. Don't do that. It's too complex, and you don't need that. It'll hurt your reply rates. So your CTA can really be a variant of, did I get this right? The other thing is the offer here is really important, and you I think that this is like the things that people don't play around enough with. I like convincing one of my customers to give away a free year of their service if like, but with some conditions. Like, you must reply by here, we must have a call by this time. So it's like, I know that you don't have any budget. And because of the economy, but don't worry, we will get to work together. This is the perfect time to improve your efficiency.
Sure.
I'm not going to charge you anything now to do it. But while you have no budget, but you do have time to improve efficiency, why don't we do that now? So you're making this like crazy long bet on a customer, right? So you can play around with different offers here. I'm testing out a dinner campaign. So looking at leads only in San Francisco and inviting people to a nice dinner.
Okay.
I'm seeing
nice.
There's a customer of mine. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna get invited to that thing too, right? I'm like, look, I'm like, people won't reply unless there's at least 2 Michelin stars.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So and then the kind of meat of the copy is really just absolutely no one cares about your SaaS. No one cares about it. It's the worst. It's the worst product anyone's ever heard of. But they care about their problems. And so that email needs to be like, I understand something unique about your problem. Like in your case, it's like, I've looked at your DMARC records. I've looked at your setup. I can tell, I've run, like, if you send an email to this email, I'll tell you what percentage of your emails are not landing in the inbox, right? So if you can talk about that, you then can have a message that says, how would you feel if 1 out of every 3 emails that your sales reps was only ever read by Google?
Nice.
Right? Like,
yeah, that's a massive.
Oh, shit,
I can feel that. Yeah, I can feel that. Right.
Yeah. It's like, oh my God, that's my reps. Like, and you could even do things like quantify that. Jordan, you have 50 reps. If they're sending 50 emails a day at the very best case, it's, well, not even money, just like this is their wasted time.
Yeah.
That means that, like, you know, if 25 of those, if half of their messages are going straight to spam and you have no idea about it, that means that you're wasting half of your reps' time just because of some stupid technical thing because they've sent a bunch of bad messages. Like, what if you could get that time back, right? So that's what you're selling. You're not selling Smart Lead. You're selling the return on time of their current landing in spam.
That is such a good insight. You're absolutely money. The conversation just tilts towards no one gives a shit about our product. Honestly, no one cares. It's just about, how am I addressing this and what unique insight do you have about my problem? So that's very cool. And I think something a lot of people need to do in the ICP or whatever different MBA terminology in terms of trying to actually understand the key points of pain that users face. And I say this to people, if you're reaching out to maybe marketing agencies, don't say generic limbo crap. Just go into actual data and terms that they use every day. AOV, LTV, CAC, whatever it is, said in terms that make them feel like you understand my industry better and you understand the pain points that I'm facing. Cool.
Well, I mean, like, speaking of marketing agencies specifically, one of the campaigns that I ran that worked really well was just like, it was this, it required a little bit of gymnastics to be able to like transition between what the customer did. But like, we went after HubSpot agencies and I said, here is everyone that installed HubSpot this month and all of the founder contact information. I hope this is helpful to you.
Right.
Like, I sent that to agencies that sold HubSpot, right? So it's like really easy data for me to pull. I could send the same data to everyone and like crazy good replies, right?
I can imagine.
So this company they weren't a lead gen company. It's like, oh, can you pull leads, in South Africa? And he's like, oh, not really. Like, so, but like, if I was a lead gen agency, right? That pain is like, I need more leads.
Makes
and
sense.
How can I find more, find more leads? So
makes sense. And I want to run into this last question because I know we're short of time. Now, you've said something very cool. You've mentioned a lot of great copy structures, strategies, etc. But Where exactly are you finding this data? Give me tools. I want to know names right now in terms of how you're doing this. What are the workflows that you're doing? Like, let's just take this example that you just said with, jobs in South Africa or whatever it is. So where do I go? Apollo, Clay, what is it?
Yeah. So my data stack is fairly
Mm-hmm.
simple. So I use Apollo for all of my leads.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great tool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a subscriber to Harmonic.ai. They've got really great data on startups and growth rates and funding. They probably have some of the best funding data.
Cool.
So I use
Okay.
them. And I enrich all of my jobs data with Harmonic data. And they're just now releasing people. So I think maybe they're going to be the best price on the market for like the price you pay for people. I have some proprietary sauce that gives me SQL access to like the greatest database of B2B. So like I can go pull companies, people, and jobs from like over 700 million profiles, and I don't pay per record. So it's not like these seat based tools. So I've got SQL access. I can run more complicated pulls, which are like, give me all of the revenue leaders in California that started in the last month, where one of their previous jobs was one of my customers.
Wow.
Right,
Okay.
like that's
Nice.
like the type
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
pulls that I can do that
Yeah.
you just can't do in any of the UXs.
Yeah.
And and then my like finishing tool is Clay.
Yep.
So every time I need to go enrich with other stuff, the nice thing is you can use Google for like a lot of stuff in Clay, just like with the SERP. You can go find
Yep.
integrations. Like it's a free scraper. Google it's a bill. I mean, billions of dollars have been invested in a scraper for you to use. And then I will give away this tip and trick, Line, Andrew at Line, which I think they're changing their company
Mm.
name, but um, they do a lot of my machine learning analysis,
Okay.
and they're amazing. So
Okay.
like one of the things that he did is we found all of the ESG reports, environmental social governance
Yeah. Yeah.
reports, which
Yeah.
talk about people's like diversity, equity, like carbon impact, etc. We looked at, this is for a company called Bonfire Women that helps women get promoted. We found, where do they talk about women in their ESG reports? Look at the percentage, grab the Google snippet, and then take the Google snippet and train a machine learning algorithm based on 10 examples of what I would write based on that snippet, and then write that for everyone else. And it was exceptional, because basically what the ML snippet said is like, it seems like your goal is X with this particular program, but I noticed that you aren't doing as well on X as you would like. So that actually just looked at data from their ESG report, and it said, how are you going to address this? So it's like, all I did was find tension in their own ESG report. And Lion helped me with that. Their technology is amazing.
Cool. Awesome. Makes sense. Makes sense. Awesome. Jordan, it's been a pleasure. If people want to go ahead and find you, learn about you, even work with you, what's the go? Where do we find you?
Just my first name, Jordan, Jordan, at blueprintgtm.com. Blueprintgtm.com is the website, and I post a lot on LinkedIn. I got a YouTube channel too. I'm just in/Jordan Crawford, so I'm the original, baby.
There's only one talking head with that hat, that's for sure.
There's only one.
There's only one. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoy this episode. I'll grab you in the next one. Thank you and take care.
Thanks, everyone.